Welcome in to a very special edition of Sport Ball, and I'm allowed to say that today, Seth, because it's Pi Day, which is
Damn right.
essentially 3.14159263. I want to say. After that, I'm not so sure.
Thought it was
Seems
an 8
right.
in there.
I just feel like there should be an eight.
Isn't it 8653?
Yeah, I think you're right. I sit here before me only three drinks, one of
Wow.
which is a Guinness, which I pour myself to celebrate the infighting in our dynasty basketball league today, where we were basically like the two sides of Congress. So,
I mean, I would say we're much more polarized in Congress at this point.
so you see a trio before you, beleaguered and beset by constant fighting throughout the day. But we're gonna put all that beside us because we're here to provide entertainment for the people.
That's right. We
Our
rise
five
above all that.
fans, our five fans turn into this podcast for what? We're not sure.
A distraction.
From their everyday toils.
Probably like for white noise as they're going to sleep, I would guess.
Yeah, we're great for that. We're gonna hit the NFL and the NBA today. Our two favorite sports, you might say. NFL free agency was wild. We're gonna hit that, and then we're gonna do a little NBA at the end. A little who's contending, who do you think can win the finals? Just a little check-in. Let's start with the NFL though, if you allow me. There was, dare I say, it was either a free agency flurry or a free agency frenzy. And I'm not sure which one sounds better. I'll workshop it. But
It was not a furry frenzy, though.
that's when I go to my convention this weekend. Let's start with our favorite player that moved over free agency. Kirko Cousins, baby.
Let's go.
Kirko bangs.
Freedom.
Finally, the scourge
sweet
of Kirk
freedom.
Cousins is gone from Seth's Minnesota Vikings.
Hallelujah.
He went to Atlanta for $100 million guaranteed over a 3-year 4 years. First couple are guaranteed. Seth, how do you feel?
Wow. I have described my emotions as ecstatic, joyous, just thrilled. I have been a vocal proponent on this podcast in the past against Kirk Cousins, and it just got to the point where, yes, he's not, objectively speaking, he's not the worst quarterback in the NFL. There's quarterbacks who are worse than him, but he's mediocre enough where we don't have a chance at contending with him. And he draws you in with good stats, especially in meaningless games. And then right when you need him the most, he just fails you over and over and over again. And so when you're in that position where every year you feel like, oh, this is the year our team could be good. We've got a lot of weapons this year. We have an okay quarterback. Maybe we can put it together. And then every year it's the same disappointment over and over. It just became where I got to the point, honestly, 2 years ago, but got to the point where anything would be better than this. Even a quarterback like we got Sam Darnold, who's objectively speaking worse than Kirk Cousins. I would rather have that player. Plus, it just shows that the Vikings realize like we need to do something else long term. I don't think anyone thinks that giving Sam Darnold a 1-year contract is the Vikings saying, okay, here's our quarterback for the future. So I'm really optimistic about what that future is going to look like. I think we will draft a quarterback this year, and have them compete in their first year with Sam Darnold to be the starter. I don't know whether that's going to be at our number 11 pick or we're going to try to trade up or trade down, but I'm just feeling great. I think the Falcons made a huge mistake picking up Kirk Cousins. I think Falcons fans will be disappointed. I saw somebody comparing like what they did last year where they passed on giving Lamar Jackson about the same amount of money. And instead they gave it to Kirk Cousins, who has never approached the level of Lamar Jackson. And he's whatever, like 8 years older. So good luck to them. Good riddance to Kirk. Thanks for the memories. Although I got better memories with Case Keenum. And bring on Michael Penix Jr.
Kyle, some might even paint you as a mild Kirk Cousins fan over the last year or so. Would you like
Things
to
have
give
changed
to give
drastically. It seems like not so long ago, we were in a bar in Nashville, Tennessee, having an argument that certainly Kirk Cousins was not a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Whilst that conversation was going on, there was also a conversation going on in the bathroom of that same bar with a completely different group of people about the same exact topic somehow.
I was accosted at the urinal.
Not the first time.
But this last year before injury, Kirk Cousins truly was one of probably the top 5 performing quarterbacks before his injury. He really was incredible this year. Now, is that because I can't even say that it was because of Justin Jefferson because he got injured pretty early on. And he was propping up a rookie who's also a really good NFL player, but he was just performing really well. He was managing games well. I feel like we didn't have a ton of those late game antics that led to turnovers that so yes, has some of that stuff happened in the past with him? Yeah. But I think we saw the best side of Kirk Cousins this past year. And maybe the man's just aging like the finest bottle of wine someone can find. And the weapons that are in Atlanta shouldn't be harder for him to play with. Like you have what prospect wise was one of the best tight ends to ever come out of college in Kyle Pitts. Drake London was a top 12 drafted wide receiver, and although hasn't put up a ton of numbers to laud over, he's had some really big games with some extremely shitty quarterbacks, like bottom of the barrel quarterbacks. And you got Bijan in the backfield that's just uh, a walking or a running highlight reel. Like it's the weapons that they have there is crazy. Um, we got new coaching. We don't have to pray that the son of UPS, is that what it is?
FedEx.
FedEx? Eh, same difference, right?
Exactly.
I would be furious.
Utilizes players the right way. I don't think we're going to be seeing Bijan coming off the field on goal line situations. I just think there's a lot to look. The fans of Atlanta are as scarred as Chicago Bears fans, I feel like. So any change is good. Maybe this turns into a Jay Cutler situation for them, which as Bears fans was some of the best time to be a Bears fan.
I remember those days fondly. I'm kind of let me wait in here because I'm kind of in the middle of both of you. Listen, Kirk Cousins is better than Desmond Ridder, who was maybe the worst quarterback in the league, 31st or 30th worst quarterback in the league. Kirk Cousins is 15th or whatever he may be. I'm a little concerned that he tore his Achilles, which is a very serious injury, and I'm a little concerned that he's 36. However, it was not, the deal might seem huge, but it's really a 2-year deal. They can get out of it very easily after 2 years. About 45 million per year, whatever.
2 years too long.
So, they're not going to get a quarterback in this year's draft, not at one of the top 3 ones at least. So they said, all right, Kirk, bridge us for 2 years. Let's see if we can make a wild card. Let's see if we can win the division and lose in the first round or squeak by first round win. And then we'll draft the quarterback in 2 years. Not really dissimilar to what the Vikings might do with Sam Darnold, to be honest. The other factor is that this owner and this probably the GM and the team just wants to not see this, a quarterback back there who can't even complete a pass every Sunday. Like the vibes were atrocious the last 2 years over there.
True.
Now Kirk's coming into the press conference with his kids. They're all wearing chains. People love it. Let them be happy, I say. Let them be happy. Let them lose a first round playoff game, and we can all move on with their lives.
If that's the goal, then they did great. If they're looking for mediocrity or a playoff appearance for competence during the regular season, then I think you're right. Mission accomplished. I do think it's astonishing that, in my opinion, his value went up because he tore his Achilles.
We were so
He went
sad
up because he tore his Achilles.
You can never really know, but I think what would have happened is if he hadn't torn his Achilles, the Vikings would have made the playoffs. And then he would have been terrible in our first playoff game. We would have lost just like the year before. And then everyone would be like, oh, same old Kirk Cousins. But now it's far enough removed from some of those past disappointments. And they say, oh, well, he was looking good until the injury. So I bet he'll be good.
I mean, it's not
Because
even
people
that
still
far
remember.
removed. He lost to Daniel Dimes in the playoffs, not the last season, but the season before that.
I know.
Daniel Dimes. He lost to him.
Kyle, should we just make a bet right now, Kyle? Do you think the Falcons will win a playoff game next year?
Can we
With
just
Kirk
bet on that
Cousins
they do
out?
make the playoffs?
I mean, if you think they're not going to win a playoff game, then we're basically in agreement.
Yeah, but we like that for them because these poor guys just went 7-10 watching Desmond Ridder throw an interception every 3 passes.
Hey, like I said, if you're looking for a 10-7 season and a first round playoff exit, you're looking great.
That's exactly what they're looking for.
Okay, mission accomplished then.
Hold on.
But I'm saying it doesn't really preclude them from it doesn't stop them from taking quarterback in 2 years. You know, I mean, I don't really think so, at least.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I'll do that bet.
Great.
I feel like I want neither side of that bet.
Well, you're not part of it, Sam. You want to do 10 or 20, Kyle?
Let me see. How much are each of your mortgages?
We can do 20.
All right. For the listeners, we're obviously talking 20,000.
And Kyle has promised us that he's actually going to start tabulating which ones we win and lose.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
we thought he was doing for the last 10 years.
No, I just wrote them down to remember them, and then I erased them as soon as they were done.
Yeah, I never assumed he was tabulating them. But.
No, me either. All right. Next, let's talk about a player that we all enjoy and we can all agree on. Saquon Barkley and his Thunder Thighs move in division to the bitter, bitter rivals. From his New York Giants, he moves over to the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll say I kind of like this. The money was high, but I don't mind paying a premium for a player that's actually the best at his position, or, you know, maybe he's second or third best behind McCaffrey. And the Eagles, I like when a team pays for a top tier running back when they feel like they're one piece away. Hence, again, the Niners with McCaffrey. We saw how great that worked out. The Eagles obviously had a disappointing season, but they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they could probably reasonably argue they're one piece away from contending again. And honestly, that one or two pieces might be their coordinators as well, who they changed in the offseason.
That was necessary.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's obviously going to be extremely dynamic when you have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley in the backfield, and then you have Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown going into motion. You don't really know what you're going to do as a defense. So I like it quite a bit for the Eagles. Kyle, how do you feel about this interdivision move from Saquon?
I mean, you got to like it. He's obviously the best running back that Jalen Hurts will have played with.
Boston Scott would like a word.
The one thing you do worry about is, well, you shouldn't have to worry about it now with all the coordinator changes. Were they going to be bringing in Boston Scott when it was first and goal from the 5-yard line any longer? That should not be a thing. I think we know what Saquon is. Even after his injuries, he's still an absolute stud of a running back. How a team is going to defend Hurts and him on like a read option I don't really know how you do that with how good of runners they both are. Um, and then you still got all the receiving weapons in Philly. So the biggest question to me is really the defense, right? That was the biggest
Yeah.
problem last year for the most part too. So
Right. I feel like the offense wasn't as big a problem as the defense down the stretch.
no,
I
no,
mean, their
certainly
defense
not.
was really bad.
It was one of the worst in the league. I don't really understand what happened. But hope to correct that. They'll be back in the playoffs. Hopes for a Super Bowl again, Super Bowl opportunity again. So I like it. I like it a lot.
Seth, you love Saquon.
Big Saquon guy. I mean, my initials are SQ, which is two of the three first letters of his name.
Had no idea where you're going for that, and you did not land the plane successfully.
Wait, what's your middle name? Why do I think? What's your middle name again?
My middle name's Everett.
Damn, I thought it was something to start with an A. I thought it was Alan
If
for some
only.
reason.
Average.
Everett.
Yeah.
Anywho, love Saquon. I think the biggest thing with the Eagles last year was just the vibes. You mentioned the vibes of the Falcons. Like the vibes on the Eagles were just horrendous for a team coming off the Super Bowl appearance. And so I think they did need some significant shakeups. Obviously, you mentioned the coordinators. Hopefully that could help for them. And I think even if analytics tells us that running backs don't matter that much, don't pay for running backs, like you said, at the very tip top, I think I'm okay with it. And Saquon is still a big name who can bring some positive energy and positive vibes to that locker room. And so I think helping change the vibes there will be a big impact from Saquon regardless.
Breaking news. The Chicago Bears have just made a trade to send a fourth round pick to the LA Chargers for Keenan Allen.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
I love that.
Wow.
Old receivers are back, baby.
Breaking news on the pod. Keenan Allen, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Now, this probably means that we don't draft Rome Odunze at 9, which really sucks, but
We could do both.
we could. We should.
Keenan's not going to last forever,
He hopefully last this year.
Yeah. I
Fourth
like
round
that
pick,
quite a
though.
bit.
It's nothing
Didn't
with
the
the
Chargers
cap.
just re-sign him or no?
I think so. Last year, I think they extended him, but their cap situation is one of the worst in the league. So they just had to restructure. I'm surprised he actually did it. I think they just restructured Bosa's contract.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay, who is Justin Herbert throwing to because they released Mike Williams?
no one. Absolutely no one.
Maybe they're going to
Quentin
draft
Johnson.
somebody.
So John Harbaugh just came in and he's like, I know we have a stud quarterback. Let's take away all his weapons.
John Harbaugh.
I mean, Jim Harbaugh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't. That's interesting. I mean, maybe they're just looking and being like, we can't sustain this cap, and Keenan Allen,
They could not
at
sustain
his
the cap.
age, like
They had to get rid of him.
isn't on the same timeline as Herbert, so they're just going to try to get younger, cheaper players in there.
I keep hearing that it's not out of the question that they trade Herbert and let Harbaugh draft and build from the ground up.
That we'll take him in Minnesota.
Listen, Herbert is. I'm kind of down on Herbert. That would be insane. I was just thinking today about how I already think CJ Stroud is way better than Justin Herbert.
That's
And
facts.
I feel like CJ Stroud might be like the third best quarterback in the league, and Herbert's like sixth. Because like you think about it, you put Herbert on the Texans team, there's no way he's elevating them to the playoffs. I just feel like he doesn't elevate the talent around him as much. He just kind of fits into a system. Anyway, that's an aside. Keenan Allen, man, I'm looking at his stats. This guy just has 100 catches, 1,000 yards every year. I mean,
yeah, he's almost like as good as Mike Evans, but not quite.
Exactly. He's a worse Mike Evans, and that's why I love him.
Yeah.
I'm so deep in the hole on this at this point that I'll never be able to return. So you'll never hear a positive thing about Mike Evans from me, no matter the stats that he puts up and no matter the fact that he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't give a shit.
I respect that, honestly. Yeah, he will be 32, but you know what? 32 is the new 29. At least he didn't just tear his Achilles in the offseason. All right, that's cool.
Don't you dare wish that evil upon me, Ricky Bobby.
Let's talk about Russ real quick. Because this is just kind of hilarious. So Russell Wilson, Seth's first love, and some say only love.
Hope Jasmine's not listening.
She knows the truth. He he landed on the Pittsburgh Steelers. It must be said that the Broncos decided to release him before his new extension even kicked in and are now paying $89 million to him over the next 2 years without using his services in any way. That's how sick of him they were. So the Steelers signed him for $1 million, and Denver still has to pay that $1 million. So no skin off their back. This I see as a no risk, no reward move here. It's a $1 million contract. He's better than Kenny Pickett, who was the worst quarterback in the league. I know I said Desmond Ridder was, but boy, I don't know. I mean, Kenny Pickett has not shown the ability to throw for more than 5 touchdowns over a 16-game span. So, there's no upside and there's no risk. So I guess they'll probably go 9-8 again.
You should also mention the fact that they got rid of Deontay Johnson as well.
Yes. Yes. They also traded away. Deontay took one look at Russ walk in the building. He said, "Get me the fuck out of here." So yeah, Deontay went to the Carolina Panthers so that short king Bryce Young can try to throw over the middle to him and get the pass tipped every time. So he'll be looking good over there.
He hit Deontay with the Steelers country, let's forge. And Deontay said, peace,
I
dog.
was thinking of that.
Get me the fuck out of here.
Steelers country. Let's forge. That'd be incredible.
Oh my god. Well, Seth, I know you wanted Russell Wilson on the Vikings because he's your favorite quarterback and your favorite team, but
Yep.
How do you feel about this move to the Steelers?
Yeah, I mean, I was bummed, because that would have just been glorious to get my boy on the Vikes. But it couldn't dampen my spirits about at least getting rid of Kirk. So I still feel fine about it. And I think the way you described it is pretty good. If I'm looking at this objectively, I don't know how I could argue that Russ is not washed. So I don't think it's going to change the landscape for the Steelers. But like you said, they're paying him the minimum, and it can't get any worse than last year. So why not? I mean, you might argue like, oh, they should have done something else, or they should have gone after Justin Fields or whatever, but we don't really know what was available to them. So I think the way you described it is fine, and who knows? Maybe Mike Tomlin will work his magic and Russ will be like 50% of what he used to be instead of 5%.
Yeah, Kyle, it's like they were too low in the draft to trade up for a premium quarterback. And obviously they know Kenny Pickett isn't the answer. I'm curious about what Seth said about them deciding not to go with Fields. Because I just feel like what Russ is. With Fields, it's like he might suck, but he might end up being better than Russ. Probably a stretch, but you know what I mean? Like,
how was that a stretch?
Better than
I
Russ
guess
is
it's not
now,
really that
or
much
better
a
than
stretch.
Russ ever was?
Better than Russ ever was, is what I meant.
That's a stretch.
Which could be a stretch. But what I'm saying
is
Kyle, that's maybe the one door that they didn't open that I would have preferred to this Russ deal.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I have no confidence over the last couple of years, or from the last couple of years, of the Steelers really doing anything right. So I don't really know what's happened to the organization. I'm sure they'll still find a way to squeak in a playoff berth somehow. Somehow they always do. But I mean, Russ is not a game changer any longer, or at least he hasn't shown that in a few seasons now. Who is he going to throw to besides what the hell's his name now? Who's left? Why can't I think of that receiver? He's on our dynasty team.
George Pickens.
George Pickens, yeah. I mean, Who else is there? Pat Fryermuth? Don't think so.
I feel like honestly, George Pickens could be great for Russ. Like he's gonna throw those like deeply contested, tough catches on the outside, and the Pickens that's what he
But
excels
the
at.
problem is what did they change coordinators at all? Because
Arthur Smith, baby,
oh
he's
Jesus
back and with a
Christ.
vengeance,
That's right.
and he doesn't give a shit about your fantasy team. Ben Heyman is FaceTiming right now.
We are live recording a podcast. What do you have to say about the news?
Did you see it?
Yes, we saw it. We have a live reaction, and now we
Speak
have
to your
a Ben
fans,
Heyman
Ben.
reaction.
Boys, we are inches closer to winning the NFC North.
Just inches. That's all he thinks this does for us.
Inches.
Several inches.
Thank you, Ben.
Does this mean we keep Fields or no?
No.
Why would it mean we keep Fields?
No, what this does is this
Win
puts
now.
Why didn't we trade him yet then?
nobody wants him somehow.
I was
What
just
this
gonna
means
say
is
that
that
on the
we-
pod next. Yeah,
This
everyone
means
thinks he's a backup.
we draft Caleb, and we might not draft a Dunze at 9 now. That's what this means.
Yeah,
Because now we have Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. We lost Mooney, so who's our third receiver?
Gives a shit. Hopefully Roma Dunze.
not Darnell Mooney, thank
Could you
God.
imagine?
You know who you're talking to?
Joe on ESPN, the betting guy, Joe Fortenbaugh, said that because of the Bears defense improving last year and them making these moves and potentially picking up Caleb Williams, he said that in the next 5 years he thinks they can make a Super Bowl. I said that's a bold statement, but we'll see what happens.
Ben,
You heard it here first. Joe Fortenbog said Bears touchdown.
There's
Ben
Super
scout
Bowl.
with
nobody
the internet.
more reliable than Joe Fortenborg.
For
He
anyone
can't
who
hear.
would say
I realize
something.
he can't hear a thing that you guys are saying either.
Oh,
because you're
really? All right, tell him to say one goodbye to our fans.
All right, and say goodbye to our fans.
All right, goodbye, Sport Ball Podcast fans. I love you all.
We love you, Ben. Thank you for the
All right,
call.
bye, Ben. Love you.
Bye. We should do this more often.
Yeah, why don't we
will be
just call
accepting
people?
more live callers? So if
Yeah.
you just call in to Kyle.
All right. Can we talk about Derrick Henry real quick on the Ravens? Because that is just sex. That's sexy right there. If I were to be like, hey, who was the coolest? What's the coolest player to team outcome of free agency? Derrick Henry on the Ravens, baby. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry in the backfield, Keaton Mitchell. You put all three of those in the backfield, what the hell are you supposed to do? What are you going to do? Keaton Mitchell's going to run by you. Derrick Henry's going to run over you, and Lamar might, run
Juke you
scamper
out your
50
shoes.
yards. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just going to be fun. That's all.
That's the hope, at least.
Yeah. I mean, he's better
He's
than Gus
got
Edwards.
another 1 or 2 years left in him.
Yeah.
That's the one worry that I have, right? Is did we see the finally the downturn of the Derrick Henry career, or was it just because the Titans were a complete ass? Who's to say? We'll
honestly,
find out next year, but
yeah, and that was like the worst season of his career, and he still had 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. So I mean,
when you touch the ball that much, you're bound to.
right, it's true. But hey, who's touching the ball that much last year? Gus Edwards, and
The Gus bus put him on his back for a while there, dude.
I'm a Gus Bus fan. I'll say it.
I hope they actually utilize him in the passing game. I know they didn't utilize Gus really, but the thing is, when they did, Gus had a couple 30, 40, 50-yard receiving touchdowns last year.
Yeah,
Henry could do it and more.
Derek's
we
been doing a
assume.
little more of that. Yeah, and let's give
Yeah.
him a couple catches a game. Seth,
Speaking.
Brian Burns to New York. So apparently Carolina could have had 2 firsts for him last year, widely reported. This year, they say, we'll trade him now. And they don't even get a first. Second round's the best they can do. Seems like malpractice. What say you?
Sorry, which player are we discussing?
Brian Burns from the Panthers, who was just traded to the Giants for not
Over the
even a
last 2
first-round pick.
seasons, they've traded away DJ Moore,
Yes.
the opportunity to draft Caleb Wilson, got
Caleb
the worst
Wilson?
rookie quarter.
Yeah, the combination of
Caleb
Caleb
Williams.
Williams and Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Unstoppable.
Drafts what looked to be so far the worst rookie quarterback in last year's draft instead. And got absolutely nothing for a premier defensive player.
But besides that, they've been dynamite, Kyle.
They also lost Christian McCaffrey, 2 years ago now, too. What did they get for that? I don't
It's
even
now a good
remember.
time to once again remind you that I said they'd be the worst team last year, and everyone scoffed and said to say anyone but Arizona is a travesty, and that I should leave this podcast and this country and go live as a nomad
I still
elsewhere.
think that, for the record.
All those things.
Yeah,
Well,
and I will say,
regardless of the Panthers,
I believe that statement was based off of the belief that Kyler Murray would not return last year, and he did return. They looked okay with him back.
And our whole point was it's not going to be the Panthers because they have no incentive to tank.
And who knew Josh Dobbs would be the second coming of Jesus Christ for 6 weeks?
I was gonna say that was what really screwed you over. It was Josh Dobbs. He comes for us all eventually.
The Pastronaut.
Real quick, a couple more moves quickly. Josh Jacobs to the Packers, and then Aaron Jones released and traded. Well, not released, traded to the Texans is what it was switched around to. Kyle, what do you think about that running back carousel there? You like those moves for those two teams?
What was it? It was Mixon to Houston, right? Is that what you said?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Because Aaron Jones was on the Vikings now.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah. Aaron Jones, Vikings, Mixon, Texans, Jacobs, Packers. Pick anyone. Go ahead.
I don't really know the point of getting rid of Aaron Jones for Josh Jacobs. I feel like when healthy, Aaron Jones is a better runner or better running back than Josh Jacobs. I think they're even paying Josh Jacobs more. And I think we saw when he came back and was fully healthy at the end of last season and throughout the playoffs. I mean, the man absolutely destroyed Dallas, which he does anytime he plays there. But either way, I don't know if this means that they're just going to lean into the run more, which is weird to me after what we saw from Love last year. Like Love looked like could be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL if he's honestly not already the way he played. So just a strange move in my opinion there. Anything is better than what they had for the most part in Houston. I love the addition of just an experienced player to add back there. I get Singletary has years of experience, but how great has that experience been? Not the best. Not like he was anything really in Buffalo for the most part. So I like the upgrade. Paying running backs though, so. Who really cares?
You know, people have often asked me, Sam, are you a fan of Devin Singletary? And the answer is no. I'm really not. I'm not a huge fan of his work. I also feel like Aaron Jones is better than Josh Jacobs, like you said. I don't.
Yeah.
Is that a widely held belief, or is it just me?
I feel like it should be.
Maybe he's more injury prone, though, is the only thing.
Yeah, I think the injuries.
Jacobs missed half last season.
Yeah.
Right.
I've always been an Aaron Jones guy, even though he played for the Packers. Like fantasy wise, he's been one of the few Packers players that I've had, and I think injuries for sure are concerned, but otherwise, I'm happy to get him for the Vikings. I think he's an upgrade of what we had last year, with Alexander Madison and a little bit of Cam.
He did not work out, Alexander Madison. Huh?
Yeah, didn't work out.
Why was he only good when spelling Dalvin Cook after his injury?
His name was Alexander Madison.
Alexander Madison.
I think that every time.
Better, but
and then every time he played, I just kept telling myself, "Just you wait, just you wait."
Any Christian Wilkins to the Raiders thoughts before we move on to the NBA?
No. Next question.
Seemed like a lot of money, but he's good.
Yeah,
I feel like they said actually, hey, we're gonna do the Jordan rules with Mahomes, and they're just doing it. Like how many dogs can we get on defense while our quarterback remains Gardner Minshew? They're doing the damn thing. Let's switch to the NBA. So all you NFL listeners, put your kids to bed and put
one more breaking bit of NFL news if you want it.
Of course I do.
Hollywood Brown expected to sign a 1-year deal with the Chiefs.
Oh. I like that.
Finally, some downfield receiving help for them. Yeah, that's the one thing they didn't have last year.
I feel like he's kind of like MVS, but he catches the ball. I kind of like that.
Exactly. And they might have gone undefeated last year if it wasn't for that, right?
If it wasn't for MVS and Kadarius Toney, I don't think they lost a game last year, to be honest.
That's exactly what I just.
You know,
All right,
I was thinking if the Chiefs didn't have Kadarius Toney
uh-huh.
and Marquez Valdez-Scantling,
Uh-huh.
call me crazy. They might have gone undefeated.
I don't agree with that at all. Let's hit the NBA real quick. I gave you guys a task because oftentimes this is what I do actually when I'm trying to fall asleep and I can't fall asleep. I power rank the NBA teams as how likely they are to win the finals this year.
That's fun. I
Right.
go through and try to name every player, every starting player on every roster.
That's a good one too.
I was doing that on my bike ride the other day.
Do we have a problem? Okay, so the
It's
task
fun
I
when you
gave
get
you
to
guys,
Memphis. Go ahead.
the task I gave you guys today was to list your contenders in the NBA, and the criteria is this: it can be any number of teams you want, and you have to rank them according to your confidence that they will win the finals. And the
Hit over the
criteria
head with a
is,
cast iron pan.
yeah, if you were hit over the head with a cast iron pot and you were in a coma until June 3rd, and you woke up and someone told you that this team won the NBA finals, would you be flabbergasted? Okay. I have 7 teams on my list. Kyle said he has a bit more. I don't know how many Seth has yet.
But
I don't think he knows.
He
I have
told
5.
us it was 1.
I have 5.
Would you like to start with my list? I know you would.
How should we try to guess each other's lists?
Yeah.
I bet we can do it, Kyle.
Yeah, he's got 7. Number 1 is obviously Denver. Number 2 is Boston.
Correct.
He's
so far.
got
OKC.
no, not a 3.
Come
Oh,
on now.
oh, in order. Sorry.
Yeah. He's
Um,
it's either Milwaukee or Phoenix at 3.
Milwaukee, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Okay.
Then Phoenix at 4.
Yeah, that was why it was so funny that he said it's either Milwaukee or Phoenix.
Now maybe OKC or Clippers.
Gonna say the Clippers.
Holy
Clippers,
shit.
then OKC is 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 7 is it the
Thinking for
Heat
the
or the
Heat.
Mavs?
I'm guessing Heat.
You're right. It's the Heat.
Yeah.
You got all 7 perfectly correct and in the correct order. Why do I even bother?
We really do have a problem.
I put the Heat in there because it's like, doesn't matter what.
I know exactly why you did it.
Exactly. All right, let's try to guess thoughts now.
He's got 5.
To be
Is he
Alright.
crazy enough to really put Boston 1?
I don't know. I feel like no, he's reasonable. He'll put Denver 1, Boston 2.
He got Denver 1A, Boston 2B, 1B.
Yeah, that's what he's gonna say.
Is that right so far?
Yeah, like I said, I think Denver should be the favorites. I'm gonna pick the Celtics when that inevitably is the finals, but I think Denver should be the favorites.
Okay, so he's not gonna have Clippers because he hates James Harden. So
Mhm.
of the 3 teams
Is
left,
he gonna
I feel
have Milwaukee though?
I
Ahead
feel
of
like I have
Phoenix?
Milwaukee and the Heat. I feel like it's Milwaukee, Heat, and the Phoenix.
You think
and
Heat above
Phoenix.
Phoenix? You think those are the last 3, really?
Well, do you think he believes in OKC? Probably not.
Yes.
Do you think it's OKC over Phoenix? He's definitely gonna have Bucks and Heat. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, it's what order though? It's
He's always
Heat 3, Milwaukee 4. Is that right?
No,
Oh,
Damn it. Are those the 2 right teams? Just in the opposite order?
I have Bucks
3.
3, OKC 4.
Heat 5?
no Phoenix.
Wow, no Phoenix.
So why are you leaving Phoenix off? You would be if I hit you over the head with a cast iron pan, and then I woke you up on June 3rd, and I said Kevin Durant won the finals with the Phoenix Suns. You would be flabbergasted.
I guess you could push me. You could push me honestly to
To add a
6,
team and put them at 6.
6.5. Because the other team I left off is Minnesota.
But I feel like the
Wait.
cat injury. I
Yeah,
would
the
have said
cat injury is
I would have put them in there before
excruciating.
that. Yeah.
I think I would be shocked if Phoenix won, but I wouldn't be flabbergasted.
He's right in there.
So
But I don't take issue with it. And I mean, I would be pretty honestly, I might be shocked if the Heat won, just because I don't think they could beat Denver.
Yeah. You'd be like
But-
surprised, but you'd be like, wow, I guess they figured out Denver.
Yeah, or I would be like, oh, I guess
Denver didn't
one
make
of
the
the
finals.
West teams managed to beat Denver
Yeah.
in a slugfest, and then it was OKC or whatever, and then the Heat just had more,
Right. That's a reasonable
confidence
scenario. Yeah.
and veteran experience and they beat the Thunder. Like something like that would be the only way I think it could be possible. But you just can never rule out the Heat. So
Okay, so Kyle, you have my same 7 as part of your 11.
Yes.
Okay, so Seth, he must have added the
teams.
Knicks. He definitely added the Knicks.
yeah,
I thought about adding the Knicks, but when I really thought about being in a coma, I was like, I just think I would be shocked if I woke up and they won it. But Kyle has them for
he
sure.
obviously added the Sixers because he'll say, well, if Embiid comes back and he looks
Yes, that's correct. So that's 9. Do you think he went so
Um,
far as Cavs?
I think so.
Okay, so that's 10. Lakers or Mavs got to be the last one. He
it's
when we
Clippers, though?
mentioned, I have the Clippers though, so that everybody counts as one of the 7.
Yeah.
He acted like he agreed with us when we said cat injury means no T-Wolves. So I feel like that means his last one is either the Mavs or the Lakers.
Probably Mavs, right?
Got to be Mavs, yeah.
Although it looked like he shook his head when we were talking about Philly. So maybe it's Lakers
Really?
instead of Philly.
I don't have the confidence in Embiid returning.
Okay. Wait, so how many? I can't keep. Just give us your 11. Give us your
11's
order though. That's what I'm
fine.
curious about.
Right. Of course. Denver won,
Mm.
as
Mhm.
everyone should have.
Mm-hmm.
Does he have
I
the
put-
gall not to put the Celtics at 2?
No way. He's a
I thought
reasonable
about
man.
it. I thought about it, but no, I did. I put Boston 2.
He's a
by
father
hair.
now.
Yeah. I did put Boston at 2, even though I have a bet against them to not make the finals anyways. But
We
either
should
way,
mention. Should we
We'll get
mention
there.
that bet to our listeners? All
you
right.
want to mention it now? We can. That's fine. I don't
No,
care.
just tease it. Keep them waiting.
Okay. OKC at 3.
Mm.
Be damned with the youth not being able to do it. The numbers that they're putting up in the regular season are as good as any championship team we've had in the past. So I don't give a shit.
Do you think he puts Bucks at 11? He hates the Bucks.
I do. I hate the Bucks, but I actually have them 4th.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that's reasonable.
And then I have Phoenix 5. This is where things get really iffy, the rest of the list. But I would not be flabbergasted in any of them. Though I do, my last one on the list here, once we get down there, I would be shocked, but not flabbergasted, just like Seth.
That's the line of demarcation.
Yep.
I scratched this out 3 different times and moved what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
You
6,
worked on
and
this a lot
7.
harder than I did.
Well, that's
Well, I
because he
had-
thought the pod was at 8:30. It was at 8:45. So he had an extra 15 minutes he's never
Yeah.
had before.
Correct. I ended up with the Clippers at what is that? 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Because I had Phoenix 5. I don't know if I said that.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, because
Okay.
I feel like because you might think, Sam, you put the Clippers on there, but you're not a big James Harden guy. But I feel like if someone hit me over the head, I was in coma, blah blah. You get this scenario. If they woke me up and they're like, James Harden finally won a championship because Kawhi Leonard was the best player in his team and he had Paul George as the second best, I'd be like, okay, I can envision that. You know.
That's not how I thought about it, but that's okay. I had the Knicks next. This is obviously
At 7.
yeah. What we saw before the downfall with the OG injury and then the Jesus Christ. You know how hard it is for me to name the starting 5 of
Julius
every
Randle
team?
and Mitchell
Julius Randle.
Robinson.
Yeah, Mitchell Robinson to an extent, but Hartenstein has really filled in great for them in that regard. But
God, I
Julius
love
Randle,
Hartenstein.
I think we saw enough to warrant, to not be flabbergasted. So, and I don't think Randall's going to be out the rest of the year. At least that's not anything that's been said. So, and OG's back, first game back after almost a 2-month hiatus on the IR, played 30 minutes. I don't know why.
Looks fine.
So
This
I got them.
is the biggest Heat fan we know, and he didn't even put the Heat before the Knicks. That's a
I
little
know.
surprising. He has the Heat
Well,
lower than me.
Get this, I have them even lower. So I have the Cavs next.
Oh, I thought I'd never see this day.
I know. So and then after them, I have the Heat at what is that, 9? And my reasoning being, I don't know what this Tyler Hero injury is, and I don't know how long it's going to be. Kevin Love has also not been playing because of some sort of injury as well, and he's massive for them coming off of the bench. Is he going to be healthy? I
But they
just
already made the
trust me.
finals without Hero.
Sure. Yeah, I don't disagree. But I also think that the East this year is definitely now harder than it was last year.
Mm.
So that makes their path, especially where they're at. And Orlando's on such a roll that I don't think that they're gonna make it past Orlando to be a top, what is it? What are they, a 5 seed right now or something like that?
Yeah.
So that's just such a hard road to go through then at that point to have to make it.
But they've
And
done it
trust me,
before. They were playing a team.
I don't disagree with you. That's why they're on the list, and I said I wouldn't be flabbergasted
Why
if
am
it
I arguing
happened.
for the Heat right now?
I wouldn't be flabbergasted if it happened,
Yeah.
but I would be surprised, especially with everything they're dealing with.
Hmm.
I put the Mavs at 10. It's just Luka. Luka's on another level this year. We haven't had anything with Irving. He's sat out some games, sure, but I expect him to be there for the playoffs. They're still trying to get a hang of things. I feel like after the trade deadline and after the All-Star break, defensively, it just hasn't been there yet. But I feel like things are going to turn around. Offensively, they could put up with anybody in the league for the most part. Um, and then last but not least, I did put the T-Wolves on here. And this was solely based on the fact that I've been listening to a 2-hour podcast where they're breaking down, like I mentioned you guys earlier, how since after the All-Star break, actually might have gone all the way back to like the beginning of February, the league scoring is down so much and they're allowing essentially so much more physical play to go on. And you would
True.
expect that when we get to the playoffs, there's just going to be even less calls that are made and they're going to allow even more physicality. So the defense that they have, I think, would have to be the anchor, obviously. Um, Cat can come back, and that would be huge for them. But I also think there's another level to Anthony Edwards come playoffs that we could see. We kind of saw it a little bit last year. Um, they were probably the hardest matchup for Denver
Yeah.
last year in their run. So, Naz Reid off the bench too. I just wouldn't be flabbergasted if it happened again. I'd be surprised, very surprised, but I don't think it's
Honestly,
like wildly out of the question.
honestly, of all the teams, Seth, I don't know if you agree with this, that I didn't have on my list that Kyle did. I almost want to say the Mavs would surprise me the least because if I was in a coma and you woke me up and said Luka Doncic ascended to his rightful role as the second best player in the league behind Jokic and went on an all-time tear in the playoffs, leading the Mavericks to the finals, would I be flabbergasted?
I mean, I guess it's plausible. I just feel like it's we've said that for the last 2 or 3 playoffs, where it's like, well, you never know about Luka, and every year he's incredible, and every year they still lose, and they haven't shown me enough in the regular season that this year's any different than that. So I would
They
still
definitely
be
have a much better team around him this year than any other year he's played. Whether the stats, at least on the defensive side, back it up.
I do feel that way too. I mean, they
So,
finally have like good centers.
I
I
mean,
mean,
Daniel
Daniel
Gafford
Gafford,
hasn't missed a shot in 31 shot attempts over what, 5 games
33.
now?
He's going for Wilt's record of 35. He's got to take two
That's what it
dubs.
is.
We
He's at
cannot
32.
mess around with this.
they're 10
He's
games over
truly
500. Like,
the
Yeah.
ideal pick and roll. I mean, yeah, but
It's
the
that's
West
the
is a
thing
gauntlet,
though.
dude. They might
Yeah.
be at that, but they're also what, like 5 games back from a top 4 or 5 seed, 4 seed.
And that's
So
the thing about the West that I want to talk about too is like it's all matchup dependent. I feel like I could see some upsets occurring even in the first round. All these teams are very good. One team, Seth, we didn't mention is the Lakers, your hated rivals, as somebody we thought could win the finals. If they get matched up against OKC in the first round, that's going to be tough for OKC. I would still pick them to win, but during the regular season matchups, the Lakers have shown a proclivity for getting on the boards against them and kind of bullying them into submission. And if I was them, I would. That's a matchup I would prefer to avoid in the first round for fear of upset.
Yeah. And I think when we're talking about it, when you look at a team and you're just thinking about them and you think, okay, yeah, they could make a run. This could happen. They've looked really good over this stretch. Like, if everything goes right. But they still have Denver waiting for them.
Mm,
Who the fuck is beating Denver? Nobody
I
can
don't
beat.
know.
So I just keep coming back to
KC.
that. I'm like, yeah, no way Dallas could beat Denver. You know. So
Yeah,
I don't
I mean,
disagree. I mean,
if there
Denver
was not
is
a if there's not an ounce of surprise in me, it would just be the first two.
Right.
You know what I mean?
right. You would be surprised if anyone besides Denver or the Celtics won.
Yeah, at least mildly. Wouldn't you agree, Kyle? Well, you wouldn't be flabbergasted by anything.
no, I don't get flabbergasted often. Um, again, I do have concerns with Boston, but I can't deny the fact of what they've done for the most part for the regular season. It's just like in big games or against so the games in which they don't run away from it from another team, they have a losing record this year. Like 5 minutes crunch time games, I guess, clutch time games. I'm pretty sure they have a losing record, and most of those losses are to current playoff teams. So what does that do come playoffs? I mean, it's like I don't feel like what we've seen this year, especially just thinking back to recently against Denver, Jaylen Brown had it all game, but it didn't seem like at the end of the game in crunch time there was still really a set player to take over. Like we usually think that would be Tatum's role, but he's been so bad this year in those moments that what makes me think, why should I believe that come playoff time it's just gonna flip and he's gonna be hitting 40% from three every night or when it matters the most, when he hasn't done that this year.
Yeah, and I think the clutch performance is a real concern for the Celtics. We'll see how much that comes into play in the Eastern Conference playoffs. I would still prefer that they don't have anybody who's just their go-to guy in clutch situations or like, yeah, we always give it to Tatum at the end of the game. I would prefer they just run their normal offense. You know, if anything, it's like a Derek White, Kristaps Porzingis pick and roll, what we should be doing.
I
And
agree with you.
drive and kick, you know. So I don't disagree that that's a concern, but I feel like that's a big picture. It's a minor concern when after they just beat Phoenix, they're now 9.5 games better than second place in the East. So at some point, it's like, all right, what are we talking about here?
We should mention our bet. We're hot with these bets. Kyle bet us. Kyle took the field in the East, basically, and Seth and I took the Celtics as for
make
who
the
would make the
finals, right?
finals out of the East. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we put everything on it. So if the
So
Celtics don't make the
somebody is
finals,
going to be homeless after this.
someone let us sleep on your couch. I think it's a very interesting bet, though, because that's almost like a 50-50 proposition, I feel like. Just because there's so many other teams, obviously, but Boston has been so dominant.
Yeah, I think it was based on the odds in Vegas. I love them. The implied odds was like 52% for Boston to make it out of the East. So essentially a fair bet then.
Yeah,
Take the field versus them.
it'll be interesting. All right, well, I think we've pretty much done it. I'm not sure who else would ever want to hear more of us speak.
The only thing is, right around the corner, Selection Sunday is this weekend. We have March Madness starting next weekend.
Let's go.
There are a few players, since I know you don't watch college basketball, names you want to keep an eye on.
Rob Dillingham.
Rob Thrillingham, obviously up there. Above
I know
Rob,
one.
though, is Reed Shepherd, same team, both play for Kentucky. Reed is you guys haven't watched any Kentucky games. He is something else to watch. He's shooting like nearly 50% from three for the year. It's like he shoots and he's like almost not going to miss for the most part. Uh, Defensively, he's got this crazy tenacity. I think I said earlier he's like kind of like Derek White, but cooler and better.
I
But
love that.
How could he be cooler
Or better.
or better?
he has hair and a hairline.
Hey,
Whoa.
nothing wrong with being bald. All right.
That's right.
Know your audience, Kyle. God.
Tennessee, Dalton Connect, I think
Yeah.
you see, but
I've been watching highlights of him.
Duke can score from all three phases, all three,
Special teams even.
everywhere. Yeah, everywhere on the court. He's truly just a walking bucket. He's insane to watch. He'll pull up from deep. He's got crazy finishing on drives, tough drives to the rim. That'll be fun to watch.
What about that guy with the glasses from Indiana State?
Oh yeah,
I
you're
like
talking
him.
about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they call him.
Yeah. Cream.
Yeah, Robbie Avila.
Yeah, that's my boy, dude. Is he
Yeah.
gonna make the tournament though?
Well, so they lost the championship match for their conference. People are up in arms that they might not make it now. I
Oh,
don't know if the committee has the balls to not put Cream in the tournament,
gotta put cream in.
but if he is, definitely one to watch out for. He's like, it's so weird to give a comp anyone to this, but he's like a Joker light.
Yeah, that's what it looks like
He
in the
literally
highlights.
does everything.
Yeah,
And the shots that he makes is like, how does this kid that looks like that make this shot? But he
yeah,
always does. He's
I
so
love him.
good. It's wild. He's not athletic at all. He might not be able to jump higher than you.
Okay.
Last one, assuming he's healthy, he's sitting out their conference tournament, but Marquette's Tyler Kolek, he is like probably the best true point guard in the class. Um, right up your alley, Sam, in terms of players that you like. Truly just does it all. Takes what's given to him. He can hit shots if he needs to, but he's looking to pass first.
Give me a comp.
Top tier facilitator throughout all of college basketball. Comp for him, probably Chris Paul light.
Ooh, I love that. Okay,
That's
so
my
tell
comp.
me and our listeners why I shouldn't just pick Kentucky to win March Madness.
Their defense hasn't been great for a lot of the year. However, they really turned it on the last 3 weeks now, so they're coming into the tournament hot. But
Okay.
Houston this year, their defense is absolutely out of this world, and they might have the best shooting on their team that they've had. Like, I feel we talk about Houston every year.
I
I
know.
feel like they're just at this point a perennial lock to almost make the Elite Eight at least.
I'm penciling them into the Elite Eight for sure.
Yeah, their Final Four material, their championship material, but yeah. So defensively, best team in the league, probably hands down. Their shooting has really turned up over the last month as well. So you got them. Then you got UConn again, as always.
They don't have
Is
Shigwe
that
anymore though.
who?
Oscar Shigwe
Oh,
wasn't that his name?
yeah. No, but they got Donovan Clingan, who's I think mocked
Oh,
to be a first rounder as well.
I remember him.
He started the season on kind of a minutes limit, but he's over the last month and a half, they've kind of been pulling that back. He's been getting closer to 30 minutes a game. He's just an absolute force down low. Kind of like I think he'd be probably really good as like a center on OKC if they have a later mid to
Yeah,
late
maybe they
first round
grabbed
pick.
him as their big guy that they've been looking for off the bench. Yeah.
Yeah. And then who is it? Stefan Castle too, I think. Right? Is he their point guard?
Never
I
heard of
think I
him.
know these things. That sounds right though for
Seth,
UConn.
are your Syracuse orange in the tournament?
I mean,
Wow.
Selection Sunday hasn't happened yet, but no.
No, they won't be either. They were pretty bad this year
Oh, my
for the
Fighting
most part.
Lion
They
Irish
do
is gonna
have
do what we always do.
yeah,
Or-
what the fuck's his name? Shannon is projected to maybe be a late first rounder.
The Illinois is just gonna do what we always do. We're gonna be a 4 to 5 seed, and then we're not gonna be able to shoot in the first game for some reason, and then we'll lose. You can book that.
So there you have it. Players to watch out for that are almost assuredly going to be drafted next year in the NBA draft that have nowhere to go but up with their stock. The Ringer just recently, or Kevin O'Connor at least, just recently, I think, put Reed Shepherd as number
First.
one on his mock, which assumed that
The
San
Spurs won
Antonio
the lottery.
ends up with the first pick
Yeah.
because they need a point guard. He'd be great for them. That'd be sick.
This has been college time with Kyle Olson. Thank you all for tuning in. I think that wraps it up for us, boys.
Certainly.
Seth looks like he's ready for bed. I'm certainly
ready to
ready for
sleep,
another
actually.
Guinness. Kyle, send our listeners off with something to wet their whistles for the long weekend.
The Bears now have a top 3 wide receiver group in the NFL without even adding a third wide receiver. You're welcome.